Welcome to Nonpartisan Hacks Train Edition. I'm Joel Grenz, a councillor with the City of Parksville.
And I'm Sean Wood, a councillor with the City of Parksville and 2026 mayoral candidate. We're here on the Island Corridor Foundation, a high rail, what do we call this thing, Thomas?
A high rail vehicle.
High rail vehicle. We have Thomas Bevan, Executive Director. What's your title, CEO?
CEO formerly, but
Sure.
you could call me the conductor.
Sure.
Yeah, where's the conductor's hat?
I left it at home.
Okay. And we also have, you won't be able to see him, but we've got Tyler driving the high rail here, and we're about to cross Alberni Highway, actually. And so we'll try not to get into a train derailment situation.
No, we're not going to do that. And while we wait to cross, Thomas, explain to our listeners what the Island Corridor Foundation is.
So the Island Corridor Foundation is a nonprofit charity, federally registered, and it is the owner of the old railway from Victoria to Courtenay, Parksville to Port Alberni, and it's a collective of 14 First Nations and 5 regional districts who are our members and who we report to steward these lands, to care for these lands, and to make sure that something happens on these lands.
Okay, so, and who are the owners, did you say? Who are the owners of this corridor that the rail is on Vancouver Island?
So the owners are our members, who are the 14 First Nations and 5 regional districts.
Okay. And the existing rail runs from where to where?
The existing rail runs from Victoria to Courtenay and Port Alberni to Parksville.
Okay, very cool.
And this was originally came about through a land grant back in the day?
I think it was about 20% of Vancouver Island was granted to Dunsmuir to build this railway that brought Canada into Confederation and connected the east coast of Vancouver Island and the settlements that were there at the time, like Nanaimo and Ladysmith, and it basically connects most of the towns to this day. And I think about 80% of people who live on Vancouver Island are about 10 kilometers from the corridor. A lot of people have it go through their backyards, actually.
And give us some background on what the train vision kind of used to be and what it was when it was operating kind of in its most full state, maybe.
Well, it was really a resource railroad, and pretty much the majority of the big timber and the coal was taken out of these lands and brought to Tidewater using this railroad. So it was a tremendous wealth extraction vehicle, and then after the trees were cut and the coal wasn't really needed anymore, it didn't get a lot of investment. And so for the past 50 years, less and less and less has been happening on this corridor.
And that was done on a vehicle like this, right?
No, I think they would have had actual trains and actual freight going, and there still is a small freight operation in Nanaimo. Actually, the majority of propane on Vancouver Island goes through the Nanaimo section, about 10 kilometers, and so if you're in the North Island using propane to heat your house in the winter, you're actually connected to this railroad in quite a real way to this day.
And when it was moving people, what were the expectations, or what were kind of the operations when you were moving people with this rail?
Yeah, well, the railroad actually came before the roads. And so I was reading some history of Port Alberni recently, and it was interesting to see how important it was to connect to Nanaimo. And Port Alberni, I think it was like a couple-day venture to get to the east side, to get to Victoria by boat. It was very isolated, and the railway, when it came, I think in Port Alberni it was the turn of the century, it connected people to the east side, which was the main population center. So it was tremendously important in moving people 100 years ago, and really even until the 50s, it was a real important people mover, and people going to Courtenay, people connecting into Nanaimo in the steamships and the CP boats that would go back and forth from Nanaimo all across the Salish Sea were connected into this railway too. It was really after the 50s that cars became everything, and highways. And yeah, since the 50s, the whole people movement has really declined. But up until I think about 2011, there was still a VIA service, and apparently quite a few people rode it, even though apparently it really was a very awkward schedule. People say it went the wrong way. I think it left Victoria in the morning and went up to Courtenay, and then it came back to Courtenay in the evening. But apparently it was still somewhat popular even in 2011, but it just wasn't getting the investment to make a service actually something that many people could depend on. And VIA isn't here anymore.
We hear from a lot of people, Thomas, that they want full train service. Let's get, fast, high-speed rail, or hey, let's
bullet train,
or let's tear the rails out and let's put trails. You have a very big job right now, and you're full of positivity, and you've got some things happening. What do you see as the future vision? And we've kind of talked about this in our other podcasts as well, but now we're actually on the rails, which is cool. What is the kind of the current vision that you can see us using the corridor?
The current vision is 1 mile at a time, and one step at a time. We have to do something and not nothing. And so, right now we're rolling Parksville to Coombs. And we're so grateful to RDN for their support and leadership in helping clear back Scotch broom, reduce fire load, help address encampments and other buildups that have been happening on these lands. And so, this is something really exciting and hasn't really been possible for over a decade. So this is something. But then down in Victoria with the Reconciliation Corridor Initiative, people might have heard of the Colwood Crawl. Traffic is a serious problem for commerce, for economic productivity in the Capital Regional District, and they need an answer soon. And so coming together with the nations, with the municipalities, with the CFB Esquimalt, looking at how we could be part of the traffic solution in Victoria for that 15-kilometer stretch. That's another project. In Nanaimo, being part of the planning activities, doing nature path beside the rail this year, that's another little project. So it's just, you eat the elephant one bite at a time. And so that's our approach. And we're not going back to 1970, I think I said in the last podcast. We're looking to the future, but also we have to be realistic, and a bullet train is not happening anytime soon. They're having a hard enough time connecting Quebec City to Toronto. And so I wouldn't get your hopes up for a bullet train.
Yeah, the train along the West Coast as well, same issue in California.
Yeah. So it's the art of the possible, and we're trying to look at what we actually can do. We can address the vegetation. We can help tourism experiences in Port Alberni. The APR were so thrilled that they've almost doubled the amount of experience for their heritage train and go to the famous Barclay Hotel now from the waterfront, and potentially working with Tishat and Hupacheset, they can go even further and connect to the McLean Mill and some of the beautiful territory up at the Lookout and Loon Lake.
So right now we're going underneath the highway. So just for context for folks, is that we are going under the new highway, the new Island Highway, which is the major transportation corridor now, replacing the train. But I think one of the interesting things that you're doing now is kind of incrementally working towards what the future could look like. And so it's a matter of, first of all, we need to make sure that the infrastructure itself is kept clean and clear. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you're kind of working step by step towards what the future could look like?
Yeah, well, the vegetation is our nemesis right now. It is overtaking the corridor and has created serious risk in terms of fire. And last year with the Cameron Lake fire, it was devastating. And so we have learned from that, and we couldn't get behind Cameron Lake to even try to be prepared for the fire as it was approaching the trestles, and to put water on them. It wasn't possible. Excuse me, my headphones are just slipping here. There we go. And so now clearing this vegetation is helping us get access and helping us keep the trestles clear of vegetation to be able to deploy sprinklers, to be able to have emergency personnel. And so that's the first step in care, is access. And so in RDN, we're clearing in North Cowichan with Halalt Excavation. They've been doing incredible work to be a part of the Canada Ave project. There's some issues with encampments, fires being lit, and Canada Ave is a very big infrastructure project to replace the water main. So we've been collaborating with the partners there to clear the vegetation to help keep eyes on the street, eyes on the rail, and to improve the trailway beside. And then in Langford and View Royal, also clearing the vegetation, helping with picking up garbage, helping show that this land is important, and also that if you are using this land, you do need to have agreements. Either if you're a trail user, you're going through an agreement that we have with the regional districts to have public access on the trails. But if you're also, say, parking on the lands, or if you're building things on the lands, you need to have permission. And so we're looking for more enforcement in that regard, and making sure that people are watching.
Well, we're going right past a trail here that goes between Parksville and Coombs, and it's a nicely built trail that connects walkers and cyclists along. Cyclists? Yeah, cyclers. But that is actually Island Corridor Foundation land. So how does that work?
Yeah, well, we have a trail agreement with the regional district of Nanaimo, and I think that was about 10 years ago or something that was signed. And to have the public come on to these technically private lands. And we really want to be a community builder. We're a charity, we're a non-profit, so we're not in it to get rich, that's for sure. We're in it to serve. How do we serve? I think access is a really important thing, but making sure that access is done in a way that is equitable, that is, riding your bike is a great thing for access, but say if people are running businesses on lands of the corridor, then they need to have agreements to do that, to say have a parking lot or other types of things that could help with their business. We're into, and we have lease agreements with people, but looking for creative ways to partner, to care for the lands. And I think these trails are such a good way when they're put beside the railway to help with vegetation management, help with garbage pickup, help with keeping a fire break, and having people get off the road too and just take a breath. There is so much beautiful land that the corridor runs through, and we want people to be able to respectfully enjoy that land.
So rails and trails are not necessarily mutually exclusive.
Not at all.
Right. Thomas, for everyone who's listening, how wide is this we called it private land, that it's owned by the members of the ICF. How wide is it, away from the rails itself?
It's generally 100 feet, so there's a lot of land. We have about 100 feet times 289 kilometers, and in many places it's actually sometimes 200 feet, sometimes more if there's a big slope. And basically the railway was put in like a swath at the beginning of its history, and it was kind of the first industrial piece of infrastructure, so they just kind of slammed it down, and there are areas of land with big cliffs or steep embankments or other kind of sections that weren't subdividable, and so often they just got kept in that corridor ownership. So there's quite a lot of land, and we just happen to have, I think, the most highway frontage land too. We're always beside something with this corridor. It's a bit of a theme, and with the old Island Highway and that we're often beside it. So how do we have lands that are actually kind of complementary, and having highways have a lot of eyeballs with people going by, a lot of frontage, and so there's lots of opportunities to work collaboratively with our adjacent neighbors and to have some of the lands used by them and under agreement with us. And also it's an opportunity to generate revenue because, managing this amount of land, cutting this amount of Scotch broom is expensive. And so the times are tight for everybody, including us. And so we need to find ways to be financially sustainable. And that means if people have the ability to generate revenue on these lands, then they also need to be able to pay for the agreement. And we put all of that money into our operations, so keeping these lands in good shape, keeping the Scotch broom down, keeping the ditches clear, and making it beautiful.
Really, it's not really just about like placeholding or like retaining or keeping this thing, the whole line, as a railway line necessarily. It's about a diversity of opportunities along the corridor. It sounds like.
Absolutely, yeah. And utilities, there's a lot of water pipes in the corridor, which is another great opportunity. 100 feet is quite a wide width, and how can we fit as much into that as possible in the short, medium, and long term? And so that's where we're trying to find opportunities. And I guess you could say be less of a placeholder too. I think it's this use it or lose it stage that we're in with the corridor right now, and we're trying our best to use it in productive, thoughtful, and sustainable ways.
Well, going back to what Sean was raising there a bit earlier too, it does feel sometimes like there's a feeling that the corridor is just kind of waiting for one day for the federal government or provincial government or a combination of both to turn it into a rail line again. But you're not sitting back waiting for that to happen, it sounds like. You're doing other stuff.
Nature always wins, and if you don't do anything, nature takes it back. And that's a good strategy for certain things and places, but if we want to have infrastructure on this corridor, we need to work for it. And so that's the attitude that we're taking, and we would welcome support from all levels of government. If anything happens, it is because people work together, and big things happening is going to take higher levels of government. So we're doing our best to do little things that make a difference. We're always there and ready and wanting to engage with higher levels of government, but we can't wait for the Scotch broom to keep growing.
I'm thinking of a fire chief from Dashville, Nick. He builds his own model railroads. He's a huge railroad guy. When it was running with passengers, Thomas, I think just the route that it took, there were actually some pretty slow speeds to get people over the Malahat, and you'll know your locations better than my memory would tell me. But to make that financially viable for pure passenger, I think there's a very romantic idea that people have in their minds. For that to be financially viable, very, very tricky. But if you take smaller chunks and what works here for this part of the rail corridor, and what works here for this part of the corridor, that's a much easier. You said, take the easiest way to eat an elephant is a bite at a time. That's a much smarter way to kind of look at how we can use the chunks of the corridor.
But you're not just biting the one part.
Right,
you're biting different parts of the elephant at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And looking to our strengths, and I think that's where we've really made great progress, is we've looked hard in the mirror and said, where can we make a difference? Where are we actually useful? And let's go for it. And so down south, for example, it's just 15 kilometers out of the 289, but boy, oh boy, is it ever important to figure out how to make those 15 kilometers work, because those 15 kilometers are the way the crow flies, and it's about 20 minutes from from Langford to Vic West. And with the Colwood Crawl, and if there's an accident, that can take over an hour or more on the highway to do that same distance. And so that is a perfect location for higher capacity movement, and with the right approach with the nations, looking at how we can share prosperity, how we can genuinely listen to the serious concerns that they have of the rail going through their reserve and the accommodations that can be made, then we can all do this together. And that's that 15 kilometers. And then in other areas, does it make sense to be investing millions and millions of dollars in remote places? Maybe not, but I would say in Nanaimo, where I live, Nanaimo is becoming a real city, and the traffic might be not that bad today, but all of that growth and energy from the Capital Regional District is coming to Nanaimo, I think, in terms of the population growth that Nanaimo is seeing, the urban intensification. And so how can Nanaimo now think of urban infrastructure that it's helping its vision to become a real player on the West Coast?
But can the ICF also be a bit of an economic driver in terms of creating economic opportunities along the rail line? Maybe it's a good chance to talk a little bit about some ideas for between Parksville and Coombs, tourist opportunities, ways to create new experiences that would drive more economic activity.
Yeah, I think in particularly, like you mentioned, tourism, and these lands are well located. And so in Coombs, we actually have the corridor right there, and people who've been to Goats on the Roof on a Saturday in July with the beautiful sun out, it is packed. And
it is July right now.
It's not Saturday.
Oh, it's not Saturday.
Not Saturday.
Okay, that's what it is.
And it's just a bit of an overcast day. And I think when we arrive in Coombs, there'll still be a number of people. But it's a bit of a traffic jam there, and how the corridor can be helpful in creating a great experience for people to come to Coombs. And we have a water tower that we took down that needed some work, and there's some interest in potentially putting it in another location like Coombs, and potentially looking at ways to attract people. We're working on a project in Ladysmith right now to bring the Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Center to the Transfer Beach area. And this is actually kind of a forgotten part of Ladysmith, is this old railway facility down by the waterfront. Most people, when they go to Ladysmith, think of the charming little town on the top of the hill, but Ladysmith has this incredible waterfront. And yes, there's the beach there where they have the Galleria and concerts, but then the whole area of the Uplands stretch where they've now created the Blue Arts Building is phenomenal, and our railway can be a real driver to more activity happening in this little nook and cranny, and bringing more excitement, more activity, more markets, less Scotch broom.
Yeah, that's a good pitch right there for sure. Maybe you did touch on the water tower. What's the story on that?
Yeah, well, it's one of the last water towers from the old steam days of the railway, and it was retrofitted there. It was actually moved, I think, from somewhere near Cameron Lake about 20-ish years ago. It needed some work, and so it had to come down, and we worked with the E&N Rail Division, the Heritage Rail Division, and the City of Parksville to bring it down, and it's just in temporary kind of storage in a fenced-off area. And we'd love it to be put back in a structurally sound way somewhere on the island. I think it's a really neat heritage piece, and it could also be something of a kind of a beacon for activity in terms of come check this new neighborhood out, or this new market out. Maybe we want to even put goats on the roof of the water tower.
Oh, goats on the water tower roof.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, let's put goats on every roof.
Put goats on everything.
Well, the water tower, so there's going to be a new life for that to come, it sounds like. The question is where, maybe right now, and needs to get a little bit of renovation done to it, and then it will see a new lease on life.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. So we're on this, I did want to talk about what we're on right now. Can you tell us a little bit about this high high rail vehicle we're driving along?
Yeah, so it's technically a maintenance of way vehicle. This is how railway workers all across the continent do work, is they go in these trucks. This is I don't know my trucks like the back of my hand, but I think this is something like a 750 or maybe a bit bigger. It's a Continental, I think.
Okay.
It's like a 10-ton truck. It's a big truck that drives on the highway like any other truck. It has a crane. It has a whole bunch of air equipment attached to it, and it also deploys rail wheels, so that they're basically like training wheels that allow...
It's like a transformer, basically.
It's a transformer, yeah, that transforms to be able to roll on the steel. So the tires are the actual point of contact for movement, and the steel...
The tires on the road.
The tires on the road are also driving on the steel rail to give us propulsion, but the steel training wheels are keeping us on the rail, so the driver actually doesn't have to do any steering. It is locked into the rail place, and we actually brought a bus to Port Alberni that has the same deployment system, same technology, and it can carry 40 people, I believe, instead of we're 3 right now. We could have 40 of us.
Yeah, well, we could almost fit 40 on
if we got a little bit cozier. But that's another idea we've been kind of thinking about. How can we get more people, again, enjoying these lands, enjoying these experiences? Going from Parksville to Coombs, we're not exactly providing an express service here, but
it's a beautiful service, though. It's very scenic, and where people are walking and cycling along here as we go, and beautiful views out the windows for sure.
If we had a little ice cream here, and we could have a bike rack, and then we could bike back to Parksville.
Yeah, absolutely. And that would definitely be, going back to the economic activity thing, creating a little bit of a loop between Parksville and Coombs. Coombs is obviously one of the most popular destinations for tourists to visit, but usually they'll be staying in Parksville or somewhere around that area, and come to Parksville, get on the bus or train-ish vehicle, and
bus train.
Got to coin a phrase for it, a name for it, or something, and go to Coombs.
Betsy, the bus train with the goat on the roof.
The train has a goat as well.
Yeah,
everything has goats.
Yeah.
Thomas, I was thinking back to when you were talking about the members who, I guess, own the property of the 100 feet wide around the corridor, around the rails. So it's not public property, and when any utility or a business or anyone else is using the property, you might get a little bit of kind of rent from renting that chunk of property out, and that revenue, how does that help you do your job, the little bits of revenue?
Yeah, so that revenue helps us do work in the spirit of our nonprofit structure. And so in a nonprofit, you're supposed to have revenue equal expenses. And so if we want to spend more money on the corridor doing work, making these lands more accessible, then we need to generate more revenue. Sure. We've been very lucky and grateful to have being provided support by some of the regional districts, some of the cities as well. But we really recognize the hard economic times, and we need to stand on our own 2 feet, and we need to get there, walk before we run too. But I think there's plenty of ways to be strategic, to hustle, and to be an actual productive contributor to our economic position on the island, especially if we're looking at low-hanging fruit, and so we're starting to get there. We actually had a really good year this year. We just had our AGM, and our financial numbers are looking pretty good. We spent more than we ever did, but we also made more, and so we're looking for opportunities for revenue generation up and down the island. So if you have RVs to park, if you have cars to sell, if you have other creative ideas, please talk to us. We're open for business.
Yeah, so I was going to ask, actually. So if people have ideas for what they'd like to see happen along the corridor, is that something you're open to? People
Definitely.
Come and pitch? So you're doing like a Dragon's Den sort of thing where people come and pitch their ideas?
Oh, maybe we could do Dragon's Den on the rail.
Yeah, there you go. Goat's roof? The goat's roof?
The goat's roof in the den?
Yeah.
I was trying to imagine that all of the demographics out there, if we did interviews with them, would you like to see train back running here on Vancouver Island? Would you like to see the rails ripped out and like to see more trails? Or would you like to see both? I don't think we would talk to very many people who don't want anything. They don't want any trail. They don't want any rail. They don't want anything, just have it overgrown. And so regardless of how people feel about the corridor, whether it's trails or rail, I think it would be good for people to understand that any little bit of revenue, whether it's parking on the corridor property or anything to do with the corridor, any little bit of revenue helps you kind of do your job and bring the whole corridor back to life in the variety of ways that it can be brought to life on the different chunks along it.
But it also means like not having to get tax dollars to pay to support the rail just for placeholding it. So to actually have economic activity that's happening along the rail, driving community benefit along the rail line, and also itself getting revenue. I love where you're heading with that. Is that where you're heading?
Yeah, definitely. Again, we got to walk before we run, and we, especially in the context of the Shared Vision project, which was $18 million that was very generously provided by the province of BC and its taxpayers, and that has provided a whole new breadth of life to the corridor. So we're really thankful that those funds were provided by the minister about, I think it was 3 years ago now, but yeah, that's not going to last. Those funds were provided to our members to look at opportunities of the corridor, and now some of those opportunities are starting to be actioned, like the vegetation management and the low-hanging fruit. But yeah, what are we going to do in the medium to longer term, and how can we stand on our own 2 feet is super important. I do want to recognize that if there is ever a bullet train or even a actual transportation service, infrastructure is expensive, and so water pipes, highways, buses, they do require a degree of subsidy. And so if this is going to be a actual infrastructure that provides this utility to, say, adjacent properties delivering water, etc., there has to be a degree of kind of investment into that infrastructure, just like there is in a highway overpass that provides for more action around the adjacent parcels to the overpass. So how this corridor can be used as an economic driver, I think, is there's many layers to that position, but yeah, I think particularly in the short term, we need to find ways to generate revenue so that we're not just going with cap in hand from election cycle to election cycle.
Rail is something that captures the imagination. I think there are children's stories about them, and there's just such a mythology around rail. And I think a lot of people really want to embrace rail and what it can be. Can they get involved in ICF? Like, how does this work? And what kind of partners do you have?
Yeah. Well, we have partners throughout the island with the First Nations and regional districts that are our members, and we are ever more so communicating to the public with our newsletters and our annual general report. We are just a small but mighty team of 4, so I think we're approaching 900,000 islanders, so we can't talk to everyone and have coffee with everyone tomorrow.
Can people get involved? Like,
people can reach out. People can be involved in the Shared Vision project and the different engagements that are happening through that project. But also, if you have business ideas, please email us at info@islandrail.ca. Make proposals to us. Like I said, we're open for business. We want thoughtful ideas. We want to partner with people. We have to do this together. And so also volunteers. There's many people who are just so committed to these lands and this project. They go and they pick up garbage. They cut some of the Scotch broom.
Yeah, like broom busters I know in our area.
I actually had a great conversation with a woman who's leading this vision to bring back Chinatown in Nanaimo, and people might not be aware that there were 3 Chinatowns in Nanaimo, all of which burnt down, and the last fire in 1960, they basically never rebuilt. And so I think there's one last building of Chinatown at Heckett and Kennedy. And so she's put this public art acknowledging the third Chinatown, and she has this vision of bringing back Chinatown and having Chinese gardens, Chinese types of events, and the corridor, we're starting. It's kind of around these bluffs on Heckett Street, where we actually have a nice little piece of land between Heckett and Farquhar that maybe we can make that into a park, a community-driven park. And so this woman with the Chinatown Society has been leading engagement on that. So yeah, tell us your stories of the corridor. How can we make these lands more visible and cared for? Like I said, we have to do this together.
Amazing.
Well, Thomas, you're the Chief Executive Officer of the Island Corridor Foundation. You have a gigantic job. I always tell you, you are one of the most positive people that I know. Vancouver Island is one of the most beautiful properties in one of the most beautiful countries here in Canada. 1 million people are on Vancouver Island, and really appreciate you making some time to take us on a high rail vehicle here and do a mobile podcast. This is amazing.
It's my pleasure. Well, thanks so much, guys. You're so much fun to listen to. I'm a big fan of the podcast, and so happy to be here for a second time. And maybe we can be in the dining car next time.
Absolutely. Let's make the third time be in the dining car. And we're just about to come up to Coombs here, so I think we're going to grab a coffee here in Coombs, and we've done the little experience of what it could be to go from Parksville to Coombs, which is a vision that could be coming to pass, and we look forward to that happening. Thomas, for people who do want to get involved, I think you already mentioned the website and email address.
Yeah. That's and Facebook. We try and post once a week, sometimes once every 2 weeks. But yeah, we're pretty busy. We're cutting Scotch broom. We're making it happen one step at a time. So yeah, please, we appreciate people's patience, and yeah, let's pick up garbage and cut broom.
Amazing.
What's your website, Thomas?
Islandrail.ca.
There we go. See, I was trying to prompt him there.
Yeah, we have to shout out to Tyler, who was driving the entire time while we're just talking back here. So big shout out to Tyler. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, Tyler. And I saw that he was like racing someone who was running along the path next to us at the same time at about the same speed. But for anyone who wants to check out other episodes of Nonpartisan Hacks, check us out at nonpartisanhacks.com. Until then, take care of yourself and your community. All right, we'll go and get a coffee.